You said that this is a blessing, right? That you went through it, right? Have you discovered why you were chosen? Why this had to be a part of your story? Do you have any clarity as to why? Yeah.
I think the reason why it happened to me is just because I knew I could do it. Like I knew I could handle this battle and fight through it. I've never been one to just to quit. You know, like things are gonna get hard, and that's when.
So like underdog, like your story needs to be heard. Like this whole thing is about celebrating underdogs and just telling their story.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones. Yeah, we the ones. Yeah, we the ones. We the ones. Yeah.
Yo, what up? Here with my underdog fam, day one energy, Tyson Gilbert. What's up, bro?
How's it going? Doing well.
I'm good, man. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
like I told you off air, you know how much you know more than anybody because, right, I've known you since probably 6th or 7th grade. You used to come to my camps and clinics. You know how much I care about the people that I work with, the people that God has blessed me to influence. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to put good people in front of them. And what's crazy about life is even though I've been a role model to you, you're a role model to me. And I just want to celebrate your story. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So right now you are a junior?
Yeah, junior. I actually I just finished my bachelor's this fall semester, so
congratulations.
I appreciate that.
What'd you get it in?
Communications, journalism and communications.
Yeah, what do you want to do with that?
So right now my goal is to get into coaching, get into college coaching, and just work my way up from there.
Nice.
But yeah, it's definitely a blessing.
So you're in grad school now?
So not this semester. I had to get a new major just because it was tough to start a new major just in the middle of the year. Right. So I'm in psychology right now, and then hopefully I'll start a major in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. Like I said, so Alaska Anchorage, which is a D2, obviously, in Anchorage, Alaska, which it has to be some sort of a culture shock. But you've worked yourself into a college basketball player, something not a lot of people are able to do. And I'm sure there were points in your journey where a lot of people didn't think that dream, that ambitious dream was for you, but you did it anyway.
For sure.
So like you're at, real quick, for people that don't know you, you're at UAA, Alaska Anchorage. Before that, you were at Rock Canyon, where you were super successful. I think, I want to say your last 2 years, I read somewhere you like 44-7.
Yeah, 40, something like that.
Something like that,
something
right?
Like that, yeah.
Really successful, all-conference guard, honorable mention All-State, averaged 15 points. And then from there, you went to CSU Pueblo.
Yep, CSU Pueblo.
You know, where you had a solid freshman year. Then sophomore year, right, you double-digit scores, you know, shot 50% from the field, 44 from the three, something like that. So really successful. And then you're transferred to UAA. And as I say that, it sounds real sweet. It sounds like it was easy, but your journey's been anything but that, you know. So obviously this is underdog. You wouldn't be here if you weren't an underdog. In your words, what makes you an underdog?
So for me, I say I'm an underdog just because I don't know, some of the cards I've been dealt, like it was the devil was trying to take me out of here. So that's really what makes me an underdog, and just overcoming different obstacles in life. I feel like that's a real test of what an underdog has to go through.
Sure.
So that's
it's certain words when you talk about an underdog. Through is a huge word for an underdog because like you have to go through it. Yeah, you can't avoid it, you can't go around it, but you have to go through it. And you talked about those cards that you had been dealt. And I say all the time, it's you know, I want to know the hand I'm dealt. I want to know the cards I have, because then I can figure out a game plan. But would you agree? I believe as an underdog, like you don't even trip when you get dealt a bad hand, because you realize the underdog in you almost expects that, not from a defeated standpoint, but like this is just the hand I was dealt. But that underdog spirit, right, drives you and it pushes you to, I'm going to find a way
for sure
to overcome this bad hand I've been dealt. And I think that's what makes a underdog. Nipsey Hussle, what he said the difference between me and everybody else, I just didn't stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about those cards. Like what are these cards that you have been dealt that maybe made it difficult where most people would have folded, but you found a way to overcome it?
Yeah. So I've had a interesting past 2 years,
right,
as a good amount of people know. In 2020, I was diagnosed with a heart condition that I was born with, but I had no idea about it. Like, I've been playing basketball and sports and been super active my whole life, but it's just crazy to think like I had something that was wrong with me, you know. But I didn't feel any different from anybody else, and I had no idea. But it's a blessing that I was able to. It's kind of weird to say, but it was a blessing I was able to go through that, because it made me a better person, and it literally gave me a second chance at life. So
yeah. Now I think you understand. You got to like give us some details, bro, about this heart condition.
Yeah. So it was actually my first open gym with my new team in Alaska. Literally the first
so
time we came together as a team. You trying to make a good
impression. You going super hard.
And not to toot my own horn, I was hooping the first game. Like, I was playing well. To it, yeah. I was getting to it for sure. So we played one game, and we were getting ready to start the second game, and I went to go set a down screen, and I don't know, I felt lightheaded, but I just was like, yeah, I must be out of shape. You know what I'm saying? So I went to go set a down screen, and next thing I know, I woke up, and one of my teammates was helping me up, and he was looking at me like super confused and worried, and I was looking at him like what are you looking at? And then everybody in the gym was just looking at me like are you good? And I was like, what are you talking about? I had no recollection of what happened. So they were like, yeah, you just collapsed. And I was like, nah, no, I didn't. Like, I'm denying it. But I guess.
But you weren't denying it because you really didn't think you did, right?
No, yeah, I literally had no clue.
Right.
Like, I thought, I just literally went black. So I know my parents was mad at me about this one, but I walked back to the bench or whatever, and I sat out a game, and then I played the rest of the day.
Right.
Which is crazy. Like, definitely probably shouldn't have done that in hindsight, but that's just you gotta keep going. So I played the rest of the day.
So this is like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to understand, this wasn't like an official practice. This is like a pickup, so it wasn't like trainers there.
No,
because I'm sure, like, obviously, if there's a trainer there and all that, they're like, nah, you gotta go.
And it was completely off campus. Like, we were probably like 30 minutes away from campus. So the next day, I told my parents and everything, and they were like, bro, you need to go checked out. Like, that's serious. So I called into our student health center, and I went and got a EKG done. And the EKG came out abnormal, so they called one of the specialists at the Alaska Heart Institute in Anchorage at Providence Hospital. Definitely always shout them out because they helped me tremendously. But I went and got an echocardiogram done. That came out abnormal. Then I got a MRI stress test done. Came out abnormal, and then through this process they didn't know what the problem was. They couldn't figure out the solution.
And now I'm imagining during this time you weren't able to do any basketball stuff. And how long was this going on where they couldn't, in the space where they couldn't figure out what was going on?
Yeah, so it was I want to say, so I got the situation happened late August, and they didn't figure out what it was until September 25th. Of 2020.
Probably had to be like the longest month of your life. And this is during COVID?
Yeah, this is during COVID.
Okay.
So that's the time where I definitely felt like a little isolated, just because like all my teammates, they're working out and building relationships. I'm building a relationship with them, but as you know, like, you go through different things when you're involved in activity with your teammates, you know? So I wasn't working out, or I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't even like go get on the treadmill and run. Like, I could barely, I couldn't even really get shots up because they didn't want me to raise my heart rate. So on September 25th, I got my CT scan done, and they figured out what the problem was, and I was born. So what the heart condition is it's an anomalous coronary artery coming from the right side. So in like simpler terms, one of my arteries was in the wrong place. So it was cutting off oxygen to my heart. So anytime I would exercise or anything and my heart would expand, like it was cutting off oxygen to it. So I couldn't breathe. And that's why, another thing why God's so prevalent in my life is because he kept me on this earth this long. And thinking about how much I've played and been active, like, and
in Colorado, you know what I mean, in elevation, where you think that like something like that, like it's crazy you didn't have an episode here.
Exactly. It's and I always talk about, like, with my mom, like, you know, it's been crazy, like, see, we was at when we were playing in the Final Four. Something happens on the court at the Final Four, like that's a big stage, like that's just crazy to think about. So then it was nice that they were able to get the process moving fast. So I flew back home on October 20th, and then I had the heart surgery on October 22nd at Children's Hospital in Aurora.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot there that I want to explore. I think that I'm sure the first thing is like when did you feel like, okay, like, yo, this is serious? Because it sounds like, especially being a young athlete, like you didn't even think it was a big deal that you collapsed. Like, oh man, I forgot to eat or something.
That's exactly.
So like when your parents told you to go to the doctor, I'm sure you thought, okay, like I know I'm good. At what point in this deal did you realize, like, hey, this is this is a big deal, and this could essentially prevent me from playing, or even worse? And how did you handle that when you realized that? So
I honestly, like, through all the tests and everything, I'm just thinking like, it's just something, like, maybe it's just a bad day. I came in and on to take this test. Like, maybe I didn't eat right this day. Maybe I didn't drink enough water. Like, just stuff like that. Just trying to, and I think that was keeping my mind going. Cause it's like, it's like I'm telling myself like these positive things. But the moment that they told me that if I don't get the surgery, I can't play or literally be active anymore. I'm like, they called me in the hospital, and I like, that was one of the toughest days of my life. I broke down, like completely broke down. And it was tough, like not having my parents there in the moment.
Probably not even having anybody, because it was during COVID. So not only you had your family, but it was already, you know, a lot of isolation on top of that.
So I called them, and I literally couldn't even get it out. One of my trainers was there with me in the doctor's office, and she helped me through that. But that's the moment I was like dang, like I need to, like I didn't know. I felt lost and kind of just didn't really have, like, had a sense of I was just in disbelief, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what that'd be like, and those feelings. I'm sure a lot of, when you talk about your identity, right, as an athlete that age, like, that's a part of it. And not even that, when they talk about not even just hooping, but just being active. And there's so much that you probably take for granted that you do on a daily basis that includes being active, that you wouldn't have to be. When they told you to have the surgery, was it like a guarantee that you would be back hooping, or was it like you're going to have this surgery and we're going to see how you respond and then we'll make a decision, or it's like you have the surgery and you'll be straight to be active in hoop?
So they said I'd be straight to be active in hoop, because it's a repair. So it was like I always think of it like I'm just like changing a tire, really. Like it's just like a repair on a car. So they once they told me that, that gave me some reassurance for sure. But like leading up to the surgery, I didn't look at anything about anything heart surgery related. Like,
because you didn't want to.
My mom she'd try to be sending me stuff. She tried to send me stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see any of that. Because I didn't want to think of anything that could possibly go wrong.
Yeah,
with
I was gonna ask, were you scared?
Honestly, I wasn't scared. Just because I just have so much faith in God that He can put me, that He has a plan for everything. So I knew He was gonna pull me through that. So I wasn't scared. The only thing that I was scared about was how my parents handled the situation. Because they took it tough, just because.
Yeah, you their baby.
Yeah, exactly. and it's like, I know in their mind they're thinking like, what could I have done to prevent this? You know, like is something wrong with me? Why he was born with this situation? So that was really my worry with them, just because I just didn't want them to feel like it was their fault, and I just called them just to give them reassurance, because I knew it was tougher on them once it really got to it, because
especially being so far away from home. Hey, what's going on to all my athletes, all my competitors? I want to give you something to think about. I know that you have somebody in your life coaching you, developing you to improve your physical skills, to help your on-court play. But what about your mentality? If sports is 80% mental and just 20% physical, that means we could be physically dominating, we could be physically strong, we could have the best on-court skills, but if we don't have the mental development, encouragement, and somebody to empower us in that space, we're going to fall short. I want to give you a quote from Julian Stone, a former NBA player I used to train. He said, "When I met Nick, I was coming off the hardest season I've ever had. I was broken mentally and physically. Nick instantly became more than an exceptional trainer to me. He became a genuine friend that encouraged me and supported me mentally. Not only did he develop my physical skills, but through developing my mentality, I was able to make it back to the NBA." I was so blessed to do that for Julian, and I love to do that for you. If you don't have anybody that's coaching you, empowering you, and pushing you and supporting you mentally, man, make sure you hit me up at 720-432-2621. That's my text line. I love to support you, man. All right, as you look back, there's so much in life we take for granted, right? And I'm sure, like in terms of hooping and just being active and being healthy, like, how much did you take that for granted and not realize it? I mean, can you even try to attempt to put that in words versus when you had the surgery?
No, I took it for granted for sure. I just always think about the days when I wouldn't want to go to the gym, and I'm in the gym with my dad, and he's yelling at me or doing something, just literally trying to help me out, and I'm mad, and just stuff like that. Like, those moments would have been taken away. Could have been taken away so easily. And then when I was in the hospital, so I had it at Children's Hospital. So I was 21 years old at the time. I'm the oldest on the floor by far.
Yeah.
Like, so one of the kids next to me, he was like 4 years old, and it was like his 5th heart surgery at 4 years old, and that completely changed my perspective. I'm like, this little boy is in there like fighting for his life, and he really doesn't even know really what's going on. But he literally just always had a smile on his face, just run up and down the halls. So I'm like, there's no reason for me to be feeling sorry for myself when there's other people who are going through crazy things and worse things at such a young age, like, and they have no idea. They haven't even lived half as long as me. So that changed my perspective a lot. So I didn't take that for granted at all. Yeah. That changed my perspective for sure. Like,
talk about the level of how that sticks. And what I mean by that is like, you know, say for example, like we're shooting this during the holidays, right? It's the 23rd, and you know, you go and you see a family that's less fortunate and they can't do things for Christmas, or you go serve at the rescue mission, and then you're like, oh, I take my life for granted, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, you're just back to doing things per usual. I would imagine like you having something like that appreciation and realizing that you took stuff for granted. I realized that I would imagine that stuck, like those made permanent chances. Am I correct in assuming that?
Definitely.
Changes, I should say, not chances.
Definitely. I think a big thing about it is just like your example where you see somebody who is less fortunate than you. You may not have the means to help, like you yourself may not have the means to help them, but positivity and just spreading positive energy and just being a good person goes the longest way. Like you could say like, hello, like I hope you're having a good day, like God bless, just something as easy as that, and it could really just turn somebody's day around. You don't know what anybody's going through. So that changed my perspective on that. Just not taking life for granted. Like, life is so precious, and really loving the people around you, because you never know when it could be any of our time to go. So that's a big thing that stuck with me, is really just trying to live every moment of life to its fullest, and really just loving and caring for people. Definitely is a piece that sticks for me.
Staying on that, I'm interested, like has that changed you in any way in terms of, like, can you give any specific examples of how that's affected your approach? Whether it's just being more fearless as a basketball player, or maybe like work ethic or anything like that. Like, how has that, do you have any specific ways that you're aware of how that's changed your approach to basketball and life?
I wouldn't say like with basketball, I feel like I've always been a hard worker, but really
I agree with that.
I think a piece is just being a smarter worker, like not wasting time, not wasting situations. Like this, you don't have to be in the gym for 3 hours, but if you're in there for 45 minutes to an hour and are focused and sticking to what your plan is, then you're getting something out of it. And really just trying to get something out of every situation. Like say I'm in class, like be times I would, especially my freshman and sophomore year, I would just be in class, just not listening, not paying attention, and like that's the professor's time that they're taking. So like, why am I going to be in here wasting their time when they're spending time to help me out? So stuff like that.
So your empathy, it's affected your empathy for other people and your consideration.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just not like wasting people's time, and because time is precious, as we all know. So that's a big thing.
Nah, that's dope. And even when you talk about like working, just a little bit off topic, but working, not being in the gym, for 3 hours. Yeah, like one of the things I try to do as a trainer is teach people. I say it's work hard and focused, and that allows you to be efficient. So like you can get more work in 40 minutes, because you do have a life and you want to have a well-rounded life, and you want to spend time with your family, and you want to, do other things. So yeah, once you're able to do that, it definitely helps you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How you said that this is a blessing, right? That you went through it, right? Have you discovered why you were chosen? Why this had to be a part of your story? Do you have any clarity as to why? Yeah.
I think the reason why it happened to me is just because I knew I could do it. Like I knew I could handle this battle and fight through it. I've never been one to just to quit. Like things are gonna get hard, and that's one thing that my parents have instilled for me from a young age. Is just like life is not easy. Like life is literally the hardest thing you're gonna go through. Like you're gonna have trials and tribulations, but if you quit, like you're giving up on yourself, and you're giving up on the people around you. So I think God chose me just because he knew I'm a resilient person, and in that I could get through it. I'm not gonna lie, there were times I'd sit in bed like this shit sucks. Like I'm not gonna make it through this. Yeah. Like I'd be lying if I say any of it was easy, but I always knew in the back of my mind, like I can do this.
Where did that come from? Because that, like I said, like this isn't about me. This isn't about you. Yeah. It's about basically this show and the book that I'm writing to follow it up. I hope that it's nourishment. The underdog soul has to be fed. Yeah. And I hope this is like food for that underdog soul. So like, how do you do that?
Yeah. literally like my mom from birth and just on, she'd always tell me I could do anything and really just pour into me. That's one thing I applaud her so much for, is she's always pouring into me and my sister and my brother and my whole family and anybody she comes across. Like,
what does that mean? Like pouring in. What does that mean for you and your family and your mom? How does she pour into you?
So for me, I wouldn't even say like pouring in has always got to be like you're so great, you're doing this, but just telling you things that matter. Like, you can do it. I know it's gonna be tough, but like, you got this. You know what I'm saying? No,
seeing you.
Yeah.
Seeing what you're capable of, you know, looking past like where you're at and seeing what you can become, right?
Yeah.
Looking past your circumstance. Right?
Yeah. And the biggest thing about pouring in is that you gotta, like, you can pour into everybody, but you gotta have somebody pouring into you.
Absolutely.
Or else your cup's gonna run empty.
For sure.
So
you know, I know about that.
Yeah.
Right. And as men of faith, you know, for me, yeah, like it's that, you know, that's what I feel like I have to have a relationship with God, because you know, if I don't get poured into, I ain't gonna make it. So I feel you.
Yeah. Everybody has that moment where it's like, you kind of feel like I'm giving so much, but like you're not getting a lot in return. So that's one person you can rely on at all times.
Yeah.
So.
And how did you said that this made you better? How has this made you a better person? You said you're better for it, a better person. Like how?
I just say I don't take things for granted, and I look at basketball differently. Just because I had so much time off from it, just realized that basketball is not everything. Like, I feel like I was always just so go. Like, I need to do this for basketball. I need to live for basketball. I need, like, everything was so related to basketball in my mind. But when basketball is almost taken away, you realize, like, there's other things in life. Like, you got to start doing other things.
Okay, that's a great question. So what other interests did you discover because basketball was taken away? And what maybe did you learn about yourself when basketball and those things were taken away? Yeah,
so I just started trying different things. Like, I started doing the podcast with Sam.
Big Sam, what up, baby? When you coming on?
Did a podcast with Sam. I did a little clothing brand for a little bit.
Oh yeah, where my merch at, man?
I got one of the shirts on I have underneath this.
Okay. Yeah, no, you was supposed to wear that. You could have been getting some, man.
It's cold outside though. I was thinking about that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so those are two things I kind of worked on, and then I've made a few designs and logos for some of my friends who have businesses and programs and stuff like that. So just trying new stuff, like coming up with new abilities and like with design and stuff, like just trial and error. Yeah. It's just stuff like that.
Yeah. And then when you went back to basketball, did you feel, because now you realize basketball isn't everything, did it almost take a pressure off of playing basketball and performing?
I wouldn't say so. I think the pressure was taken off of, like, I wasn't looking at other people putting pressure on me. It was more so myself. I'm still going through that right now. This is the first season I've played since everything. So especially like the first couple games, like, I just felt like I was just putting so much pressure on myself, because I'm like, I've had all this time off. Like, why am I not performing the way I want to? And that's literally, and that's a battle I gotta just keep my mind positive with playing every day. Cause it's like, I don't know, it's just different. It's just
too hard on yourself.
Yeah, I've always been too hard on myself, I say.
Yeah, me too.
So I've
like, bro, I just had a basketball camp, and I tell people I've been professionally homeless for like 4 years. Yeah. Since I left, I went to Iowa State trying to get some stuff in Dallas, California. So I did like my first holiday camp since like 16, something like that. Yeah. And the first day, like, I was just like, I didn't feel like it went very good, and I didn't feel like it went like my standard.
Yeah.
And just had to like take a step back, and like I almost felt like God talking, man, stop being so hard on yourself, though. You bro, and I guess it's the same thing with you. It's like you haven't done this for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, you're rusty.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I don't know when KD said it. It might have been earlier before the season started. He was just like, I just started being nicer. I just told myself I got to be nicer to myself. And that's what I tell myself, like, in practice. Like, miss a couple shots, I'm like, yeah, don't be mad at yourself. It's gonna happen.
So one of the things that I try not to be aware of here is like repeating myself, what I've said in other episodes, but I mean, it does apply. And it just speaks to how much there's a need, like we all do, especially as ultra competitive people, right? Because I mean, I spoke to some kids the other day, and I talked to them about rat poison, basically like fake compliments. And like, yeah, it's a balance, because affirmation, to me, like, it's about who's giving me the compliment. Like your mom, like when she tell you something, that's different than somebody that's just clout chasing. Yeah. You know, so you have to, you know, allow people to affirm you, but like you can get lost into that. But the other part of that is like, yeah, you do need positivity. And I was talking to Garrett, because he's working through that too. And it was just like, I said, Garrett, you ever notice how you are? You ever play with a coach that was negative and didn't believe in you? And no matter what you did, they found something wrong? He's like, yeah. Like, you could tell if somebody came to mind. I said, how did that affect your performance? How did it affect your ability to shoot, your ability to respond to mistakes, blah, blah, blah? He said, like, it was bad. I said, like, what about training with people in your life like me? Like, yeah, we push you, but we always affirm you and tell you how good you are and applaud you and this and that. It's like, I said, how do you play? He's like, man, I play the best basketball. I said, well, here's the thing. Like, when you have a bad coach, he goes home and you can get away from him. Yeah. You get a new coach. But what if you're your own bad internal coach? That voice never leaves. Yeah. So I said, if that bad coach can have that much of an impact in just a few hours of your day, what about the negative stuff that you're telling yourself? Yeah. And then to take it a step further, I was like, what if you told yourself good things? It doesn't even matter if they're true, because that coach tells you stuff, it might not be true. Yeah. So tell yourself good lies. Tell yourself it doesn't have to be true. Facts. But just hearing yourself say that. And so what I had him do is like, start complimenting himself. And I had to do this with myself. I encourage you to do the same thing. Yeah. I had to write down 5 compliments, at least 5 compliments a day. About myself, compliment myself, and then at least 10 small victories. Because we're so hard on ourselves that we don't recognize all the positive stuff that we're doing. Yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So definitely. I encourage you to try that. I'm gonna hit you up and check on how you send
I'm definitely gonna tap into that for sure. I gotta write down in my journal, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the second book is gonna be a journal for competitors. Oh, okay. So I'm excited about that. No, that's tough. When I get that out, you'll have that, because you got 2 years left, right? Yeah. So you want to listen? Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully it'll be out by your senior year. Bet. So you go through this crazy thing with the heart. Overcome that, and then we're ready to get to it. And what happens?
Yeah, I tore my Achilles in April of 2021. So I recovered fully from heart surgery in January of 2021, and then we're practicing, because we didn't play that year because my COVID. It was just tough to get in and out of Alaska during that time. So
did y'all practice? No, y'all didn't do nothing that year.
Practice every day. Wow. Yeah.
That's tough.
Not tough.
That's a lot.
So it's like early April, and we're just practicing one day, and I went to go catch a pass, just like some normal, like went to go plant to catch a pass, something I've done a million times, and it just popped. And I knew exactly when it happened. Like, I'm laying on the floor, I'm just like, no. Like, so my teammates helped me up, and like I felt like there was just like a ball underneath my foot. Hobbled to the training room, and this is the craziest part. So my parents were flying in to come visit me that day. So they flew in. They had just gotten off the flight. Like, they got the rental car. They're on the way to their hotel or whatever. So I called my dad. I'm like, hey. He's like, aren't you supposed to be in practice? And I'm like, yeah. And then the trainer takes the phone. She's like, yeah, Tyson hurt himself, so you guys are gonna need to take him to the he's gonna need to go to the doctor, the ER. And when she said that, I'm like, yeah, this ain't good. This ain't good at all.
So at this time, you didn't know, you knew he was bad, but you didn't think it was like turn my Achilles bad.
I knew, cause the pop, it was super aggressive. Like so I knew right then and there, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, nah, you're good. Like that didn't happen. And then she said that, and I'm like, dang, like this isn't good. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor, he didn't even take a X-ray, MRI, or anything. He just knew, because you do that little Thompson test, and like they squeeze your calf, and your foot's supposed to move. No movement.
Just
dead foot. It was so. I ended up having surgery on that like 4 days later, and so ended up tearing my Achilles.
Yeah. Hey Hoopers, what's going on, man? It's Nick. If you want to put that work in, tap in. You want that real work, real development, I got you. NickGrahamPlayerDevelopment.com. Follow me on IG, Nick Graham Player Development. 720-432-2621, man. I'm Denver, I'm California, I'm Texas, I'm everywhere, man. Where you at? I'll pull up, and we're going to put that work in. You tear your Achilles, like how did you, what you talk about being resilient, right? Which is you have to have that. That has to be an ingredient in your underdog recipe. Yeah. Do you feel like, was your resiliency broken at any point, like, and you had to recover and get it back, or were you still like, highly hopeful and like this is just a setback? Where were you at after the Achilles? Yeah,
I wouldn't say it was broken. There were times I was like, maybe I never thought I was never gonna play college basketball again. But there were thoughts that came in like maybe I'm not gonna be the same player, just stuff like that. But no, it was never broken, because literally like the heart surgery was the hardest thing.
Right. He was like, if I could do that, like this is gonna be this is light work. The recovery was a lot longer than the heart surgery. Like I'd still say I'm like, there's some days, like especially when it's cold outside, like it takes a little minute to warm up. But for the most part, like my resiliency wasn't ever broken. Yeah. How do you keep your hope up? How do you keep your resiliency up? Like you go through two major injuries. I got one kid, and he's discouraged because he wants to be a college basketball player, like you all do, like we all did. He is a junior, and he's without a high school team. He's just he's got some talent, and things just aren't going his way, whether it's his fault, coach's fault, whatever. And I was talking to him the other day, and he was crushed. What would you tell him? Like, how does he keep his hope up in that moment?
Yeah. I'd honestly just tell him, like, really, especially with college basketball, like, there's so many stories about people who like are late bloomers. I was a late bloomer.
Yeah, you are a late bloomer.
Yeah, I'm a late bloomer for sure. So like if you get hard on yourself right now, like 16, 17 years old, like you have so much more life to live, really. That's the biggest thing at the end of the day. And if you start giving yourself positive energy and positive thoughts, and that, everything will work itself out. So literally, like, for him, I'd say just keep putting in the work and keep listening to the right people, and all the chips will fall in place as long as you just don't get down on yourself, because that's literally the worst thing you can do. Right.
And so that's the perfect segue as we talk about like how you got into this point going back. Like your story, like your journey, I think should encourage him. I told you off air, I'm Wale's one of my favorites, and so and I like Bryson Tiller too. So they got the song LOV. And Wale says, funny how the quiet ones do nada till they do a lot. That's you. Yeah. It's real quiet, like real, like, oh, he's just, he's solid. And then all of a sudden, high school comes, and, you're starting point guard, you and Big Sam doing work, 77-4. Rock Canyon's doing it. Get a college scholarship, go average double figures as a sophomore at CSU Pueblo, all these things. So I think that one of the things that you shared with me and which makes me admire you, was how you said you didn't start seeing the fruit from your work. You didn't start seeing the result of all your hard work and sacrifice until what, your junior year?
Yeah, like sophomore summer, I'd say.
Okay.
It was sophomore summer. And we was talking, like, he was like, did you ever feel down on yourself when I was younger? I was always little, like.
Yeah, you definitely were like a little guy that had no athleticism yet.
Yeah,
like, hadn't grown into your feet. So
yeah, I was little. I feel like I always like shoot the ball a little bit, but I mean, I was just smaller than a lot of people, and especially in middle school and like late elementary school, like fourth and fifth grade, going into middle school. Like I'd always play on like good teams, like AAU teams, but I wasn't playing a lot. And some of those teams, like, my dad coached, and I wasn't playing a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd be so pissed, like, mad at myself, like, thinking I was bad. But they'd always tell me, like, bro, like, you're 12 years old. Like, you got so much time. You're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And then I just kept working hard, and I never got caught up in worrying about what others thinks and like trying to catch people, really. I was always just worried about my individual growth.
Yeah.
Cause like,
but you never, even with that, right? You never got discouraged, like to the point where like, man, maybe this dream isn't realistic, or maybe I'm not good enough. Even though, like, it's not that you're comparing, but you got eyes like, this person's playing on this team. I've been working out with this guy since this time. We're doing all the same things, and he's having more immediate success. I think they're so underdogs, right? Like there's so many that their success is going to be delayed. You know, their success is going to be delayed, and so like just being able to just hang in with hope, you know, like that's hard. That's uncommon. So like the fact that you're able to do that at even a young age, I want to hear as much of the details as that. One, for myself, like I'm still grinding, fighting this underdog battle, but you know, for all these young players, man, I think that's what they need to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, go ahead.
Yeah, so I growing up, because my dad's a coach, so
what up, Ty?
And my mom loves basketball, so I'm always around. I'm always in the gym with him, like literally everywhere. Everywhere he is, I am. Like practices, on the bus to games. Like I was the ball boy at Highlands Ranch.
I remember that.
Yeah, when I was younger.
I remember that, dog.
Yeah, like on the floor at the Final Four. So I'm just like seeing these things at a young age. So I'm like, dang, I want to do this. And once I put that in my mind, like I want to do this, then I started just working. But it was there were times when I get in the car from games, and I'm like, I don't even want to play no more. Like what am I like basketball is like not even fun. Like why am I playing? And then the next day, I'm loving basketball. Yeah. So just like short memory, like helped me a lot. And then growing up, I always played with older guys in my neighborhood. Like when I was growing up, I used to play with like my man X Jackson and like Jay Sean Jackson, because they're cousins. So I used to play with them all the time, and they used to bust cook me. Like I was getting cooked, and like I'd say I was getting cooked a lot when I was younger, and it hurt and it sucked, but it made me so much better because I learned those lessons at a young age. Like I'm glad I wasn't just killing when I was in middle school, because I would have felt like everything else was going to be easy. Yeah,
but again, that word through.
Yeah.
You couldn't avoid that. Are they hooping? No, I'm away till they not hooping. You had to go through it. I told some kids at a camp today, I was like, you have to be mentally tough to succeed at a high level, whether it's hoops or whatever. And I said, mentally tough can only come through tough experiences, right? And so I believe that like Kansas won a national title last year.
Yep.
Right? All the teams, go look at every team over the last 10 years that's won a national title, and go look at their non-conference schedule. Their non-conference schedule to a team is filled with challenging opponents.
Oh yeah.
I say non-conference because that's the part of your conference you can control, right? So what that tells me is these coaches, when they're scheduling these games, they're not concerned with winning right there Yeah, they want to win that game, but they want to be prepared. They want to be developed.
Yeah.
They know they have to schedule tough things to be a championship team if they want to have it.
Yeah.
Because they got a chance to win a championship. Well, you as a person, if you have a chance to be a champion, you have to allow life to schedule these tough things, and you can't avoid them. Oh, no, I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to show up. Right, you had to go through that, you know, and if you didn't go through that, you would have never got what you want.
Right.
And I think that, like, and that's what I was trying to figure out and explore, and I think that that's it. I think that as you look back, your success and your resiliency probably was born, you know, through that.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good. You know, I've been in that place too. We all have. My dad coached in college, and I was playing with college kids. My nose is broken to this day. I'm playing with college dudes. They running over me, breaking my nose, talking bad, making me cry, beating me, and I'm so grateful because that made me tough.
Yeah.
I had to go through those tough, that schedule of tough opponents, of tough instances, which made me tough. I didn't wake up tough. You didn't wake up tough.
Yeah.
And so that stays with you. The other thing, like you talked about resiliency, right? Resiliency obviously is taking the L and showing up and not losing enthusiasm, not losing confidence, and still saying, I'm going to fight for this dream.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's what happens when you're a little kid, which is why, like, for me, if there's any parents watching, man, like, if your kid's not starting, even if the coach is playing favorites, let them do that.
Yeah, that's going to
You know what I'm saying?
It's going to help them.
Let them do that. And then tell them to go to the driveway, or you can bring them my count. You know what I'm saying? But have them work out with the trainer, have them go to practice, have them do all those things seriously. You know what I'm saying? So he can, like, learn how to overcome that.
Yeah.
Because you can't fight that. Like you said, when you was 11, 12 years old getting beat by Jay Sean or whoever it was, you didn't know that you were going to be having to fight the mentality to overcome a heart issue.
Yeah.
And then an Achilles after that. You would have quit if you wouldn't have went through that, and your parents didn't have the wherewithal to put you in those spots.
Yeah.
You would have just folded.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I was my dad for sure. He'd always just throw me out there with whoever.
Right.
And I'm glad for it. I used to hate it because I'm gonna get embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? But and I'd be mad. Get back to the car and crying and all this. But at the end of the day, it helped me more so with life than basketball.
For sure.
I think those lessons, like as a young age, like especially that's why sports I think is so big in like tough sports.
If you do it the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you really stick with something and you're not just kind of like bouncing around or anything like that, but you stick with the tough times, like that's gonna help you in life more so than basketball. Because at the end of the day, the ball's gonna stop bouncing for everybody. Yeah. But we all got lives to live, so yeah. That's a big thing.
Real quick, just to cap off your college, so you're a junior now, starting averaging about 21 points, you know, working your way. I mean, 21 minutes, excuse me.
Yeah.
21. Yeah. I said points, your eyes got big.
Like nah,
what you 20, not yet, 21 minutes, you know, which is great considering everything you've been through working your way back. Sounds like you're in a happy place. You enjoy where you're at. But before that, you were at CSU Pueblo, had a good, solid freshman year, super productive, super efficient second year, and then you left. Why'd you leave CSU Pueblo?
Yeah, so after my freshman year, the staff that recruited me, they left. So a new staff came in, and I mean that always changes some things. For sure. Like
look at what's going on with Dion, Coach Prime.
Yeah, exactly. Like
bringing his own luggage.
It always changes some things, but they came in. They brought a new mentality and everything, and it was good. Like it was good for sure. That year they let me play my game and everything like that. But after the year, I don't know. They didn't see me in a role that kind of suited me. I felt like so I said I think I'm gonna explore some different options, and I think a part of me too wanted to get out of Colorado and see something different. Because that helps me grow up a lot. Because I was about hour and a half away from the crib, so I was able to come home a good amount. But so I went into the portal, and I actually got recruited more when I was in the portal than in high school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why it's hard for high school kids, right? Because you were proven at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So got recruited by a good number of schools, and then I saw Alaska Anchorage, and they didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. Like they didn't tell me like sweet stuff. They told me exactly what the situation was and how things were gonna go. And I went there, and I'm happy about it. I literally that's another thing with my teammates that year, that COVID year. I literally talked to them every day, like those 12 guys, because they helped me through the heart surgery and the Achilles immensely. Like always checking on me, always just let me know if there's anything they need from me. And so that was a big thing. Like I've built some great relationships up there, and it's cool. It's different.
Right. Yeah, that's dope. Having the courage to step out. Like for me, like my dad was a college coach, so I moved around a lot, and it's the best thing that can happen. Like you learn a lot about yourself, you learn how to meet. It just serves you well as you continue on in your life, instead of just getting out of your comfort zone. So as we close up, man, one, I'm grateful. Like you've inspired me, like I said, and I'm even inspired to you're going to motivate me to write some more of my Underdog book. And that's another thing that I thought was about doing a podcast, because I knew these conversations was going to stimulate stuff to help me write a productive book to, like I said, feed the underdog soul. But one of the things that I believe that I'm just encouraged, and I know the audience is, to hear the recipe, the Underdog recipe. Right, so I want you to kind of tell us some ingredients that are in your Underdog recipe. You've already told two. One off air, the second one you just told. But I think that one, which is huge, is like you just said you gravitated towards people. Again, you basically said, I don't do the rat poison. Yeah. People that just tell me what I want to hear, hollow compliments. I'm going to gravitate towards somebody that keeps it a buck, to have the mental maturity and emotional maturity to gravitate towards somebody that's going to keep it real with you, I think is an ingredient. But then you said something, because on your journey, like I said, you got overlooked a lot, but you never felt the need to quit. Never felt the need to finesse the process. Yeah. Like, let me go get somebody to film a workout and just make it look like I'm like that. Nah, you just said, I'm gonna keep putting my head down and do the work. But what you told me, bro, was so powerful, and it's something that I wish that I would have had it's in my recipe now, but it wasn't for the longest. You said that you never felt the need to prove your doubters and haters wrong, but instead you just wanted to prove the people that believed in you right. And I've literally wrote that in my journal. Stop trying to prove the wrong people wrong and prove the right people right. Yeah, exactly. Because when you're trying to prove somebody wrong, like my dad's, man, we just don't have a good relationship. Let's just leave it at that. But I was never good enough for him. So I kept trying to prove to him like what he didn't see. Like to the point I started my own business, that wasn't good enough. When I played for him, I worked, that wasn't good enough. When I wrote my book, he's like, I don't agree with it. Like, dang, I'm writing a book and you still don't believe in me. And what I realized, bro, is when you try to prove people that don't believe in you wrong, it makes you angry, it makes you bitter, and it makes you question the ability, your God-given ability. Where it's so much healthier, like your approach, to prove the people that believe in you right, because it makes you appreciative, it makes you develop healthy relationships, and because we only got one life, like you said, like after you reflected with your heart issue. So like, do we want to spend this life being bitter, being angry? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So those are the two takeaways that I took from your Underdog recipe. What are some other things that's like your Underdog recipe or ingredients that you've added to be successful and continue to be successful?
Yeah. Another ingredient I'd say is just having faith in God for me. But if you have a different higher power or whatever, but I'm the same you gotta believe in something.
You gotta have a foundation of faith. Basically, what you're saying. Yeah.
So a foundation of faith in something that's bigger than yourself. And then I say the other recipe is really just being a servant, like helping people out, because no one wants to be around somebody who's selfish and doesn't want to seek out the good in people and situations, and just being like negative. Like I just like you were saying, just being around good people. So I'd say those are two things that really prove another thing to be in another piece of a good recipe.
Yeah, and it makes sense being a servant, because I think that when you're a servant, your mindset shifts from the things that aren't going well for you. And so that keeps you encouraged. You're in a better place to endure the tough times that you're going to have to endure. Yeah. So that makes sense. Bro, thank you for pulling up.
Thanks for having me.
You know what I'm saying? Now make sure you tell your boy Big Sam he got to come.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, he definitely got to pull up. But,
my guy.
but really, really, really proud of you. You know, like I said, man, like it's a cool thing when you get to a point in life where that pour in. The people, when you see people you've poured into, like life comes back, right? It comes back. You know, as you were coming up, you know, I did what I could when I was around you to pour into you and inspire you, and now you're inspiring me. It's just a beautiful cycle of life. So appreciate you for tapping in. Before you leave, I need you to sign the wall.
Bet. Yes, sir. It's anywhere?
Anywhere, man. Get in where you fit in.
Throw the number in there. Sir.
Bet that. Appreciate it.
My God.
And got to give you a copy of the book. Man.
Oh, big time.
Yeah,
big time.
Give you a copy of the book. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
And we out. Appreciate it, bro.
Hey, appreciate you.
Yeah.
That was big time.
Hey, Underdog fam, thank you so much for tapping in. Now, do me a favor, man. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do all the things. And until next time, keep fighting.